remember when I was in high school, it was like a big deal to lose your virginity as a girl.
Yeah.
And now it's like people are losing it in middle school and like 7th grade, 6th grade. It's
Dude,
crazy.
the Taliban was right about some shit, man. like, yo, I'm serious, man. Like, yo, some dudes in caves, like, we think that they're backwards or whatever, but they're like, nah, women can't assemble together and they'll go to school and cover their hair and, promote modesty and they can't vote. And then I'm like, damn, like, these niggas was spin. They was onto something. Cause like, we've like, cause if you look at like the West, right, you look at America, you look at Scandinavian countries, like, we're the biggest experiment in like allowing feminism to just flourish, right? But what do we got? We got like one of the worst situations that we've ever had in society. Like, women are more liberated now than ever before, but we have the most societal problems that we ever had before. We have the lowest birth rates, nuclear families declining, high divorce rates, etc. It's caused a lot of problems. So, like this newscaster lady goes out to, meet with the Taliban and she asks them about like, what is your thoughts on democracy and women voting? And they start laughing. Like, it kind of makes sense why they're laughing because they had the foreknowledge to know like, yo, if you put women in power, it's going to create some problems. And then like, this is biblical. Like you go back to ancient times. Why is it that women were never in positions of power? Like back then they kind of figured it out that, yo, if women have positions of power or you make them equal to men, your society is going to collapse. And look at what we got going on now.
Wow. Would you ever vote for a woman for a political position?
No, they should never have power. Like, with that said, are there women out there that are anomalies that have the capability of leading? Of course, there's always going to be anomalies. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But in general, most women are not equipped or have the ability to lead. And I'll tell you why. So one thing that I've noticed, and I find this interesting that like none of these like people like David Buss or Jordan Peterson could talk about this. Like these academics when it comes to female nature, none of them could talk about this because no one has talked to more women than I have. One of the most profound things that I found out from talking to 3,200 or 3,300 women at this point is regardless of education, background, culture, profession, one thing that stands out. If I say something that's generally true, they will make a point to interrupt what I'm saying to say, well, not all women or that doesn't apply to me. This is something that's a phenomenon that I've only noticed with women. Me and you have a conversation, or there's a group of guys here, and we say, yeah, most men are retards, man. Yeah, you're right. All the guys are going to be like, yeah. No one's going to stand up and be like, I'm not a retard. Like, we just understand that, like, yeah, most guys are adequate losers, right? We're okay with, like, criticizing men as a whole and understanding that whether it applies to us or not, it's a general statement and it's true. But with women, for some odd reason, they need to make a point and disrupt what you're saying or try to say, well, that's just your opinion or whatever. And this is something that I've noticed only with women. And then I always ask myself, like, why is it that they have this need to like, make an argument for the exception to the rule or say that I'm not a part of that? And it comes back to women's inherent need for inherent solipsism or the inability to, what's the word I want to use here? We'll just say solipsism, right? Which basically the world revolves around them, right? And they're unable to exercise empathy, right? One of my controversial takes, I say women lack empathy.
Really?
Right? And people say, well, that's not true. I'm like, well, don't get it twisted. They have sympathy. They can feel sorry for you or they can feel pain towards your situation, but they don't have empathy. And what I mean by this is they don't understand like the male experience and they don't understand men in general, right? And the reason why they don't understand men is because they don't have to. Just exist, be pretty, men come to you. But men, on the other hand, we have to understand empathy with women if we want to attract them, right? You take a girl on a date, what do? You dress well, smell good, right? You set up your apartment in a way where it's clean and the vibe is there so that she doesn't feel weird and freaked out when you come in. You clean your streak marks off the toilet, right? Your shit stains everywhere. You hide any embarrassing medication, right? You do that because you understand that for you to get laid, you need a woman to feel comfortable. You need to create a mood, right? You need to be romantic, right? Women say the vibe. What does the vibe mean? The vibe means you creating an environment where she feels comfortable with potentially engaging in sexual relations with you, right? Men need to understand this to get laid. Women, on the other hand, don't need to understand men. So that solipsism that I mentioned, they don't really need to understand anything except for themselves. And that's all that matters. And people say, well, that's kind of up. Well, it's actually natural. And the reason why is because since women are tasked with having children and caring for children, they need to care for themselves because they understand that they're the incubators of the next generation. So that's where that need comes from. Like there's I think it's called Bruffel's Law, if I'm not mistaken, where a woman understands that I need to use a man to get a child, and then once I have a child, get resources from that man to take care of the child. This is why if you ask a woman, hey, your husband or your child, they're always going to pick their child every single time. And that's fine. But for them to be able to come to that conclusion, they need to be inherently selfish. Women are inherently selfish. They have to be. Men, on the other hand, we can't be because Men make excess resources for what? For women
Right.
and for kids. Versus women, when they make excess resources, what do they say? I'm independent. There's a difference. Man makes a bunch of money and becomes successful. He's like, damn, I can have a family now. Women makes a bunch of money, successful. I'm independent. Independent of whom? Oh, men. So when women make money versus men make money, it's not the same. Men are okay with sharing their resources, women are not.
Wow.
This is why when women make money, what do? If they make more money than their man, that divorce is coming. So you get rid of your dumbass. So women kind of look at men as a means to an end to achieve the agenda of security, resources, and most importantly, resources for their kid. So to bring this all back full circle, the solipsism exists because they're the ones that hold the kids. They're the ones that have the burden of taking care of the kids. So they need those excess resources. So they have to be selfish. So I've accepted this and I've understood this, but it's something that I've noticed during the course of doing the podcast that it's an astounding thing that I've noticed where I say something that's generally true and they almost always have to still make an argument for the exception or whatever because their solipsism doesn't allow them to kind of see beyond that.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
I love how you tie in the biology to it.
Yeah, it's just like a female thing, and I've because I kept trying to figure out why the are these so retarded? Like, why can they not understand general things? But then it comes back to they just have this inability to empathize with facts and the way they feel, right? Like, men are more concerned with empirical correctness versus women are more concerned with moral superiority. Like, they did a poll, right? And it's funny. I got to call out Chris Williamson for this. He has his podcast and he brings these people in, right? And he doesn't. I think he's scared to have me on, which I get it. I'm controversial.
That's a good show, by the way.
Yeah, right. I think he's
Modern Wisdom, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because he did a tweet the other day where he talked about how men overwhelmingly stand for free speech versus women think that free speech should be curbed if it hurts feelings and all this other stuff. And it confirms a lot of things that I've said, which is basically, right, the thing is, people don't like the way I deliver the information, but the things I say are almost always statistically true as well.
It's like how Andrew Tate was.
Yeah, shout out to my guy, Andrew Tate. And we say things that are biologically true. It's just that people don't like the way they say it because we're so controversial. But when you do studies or whatever, it comes true. Women are communitarian by nature. Men are meritocracy based by nature. Men understand hierarchies. Men understand being successful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Women don't understand that. They don't understand hierarchies, right? If a rich man walks into a room and there's a bunch of guys there, we understand the pecking order and we're going to respect that guy because he's a millionaire, successful, etc. Women don't give a about that. Oprah walks into a room, they don't really care because is she pretty? No, the prettiest girl gets the most acknowledgement, right? So women don't have the same concept of meritocracy that men do, right? So with that said, they're more concerned with political correctness and being socially acceptable than the truth. So men, right? Something I can pull up let me show you because I think this will be very important, right? Because I've talked about this before and everyone thinks that I'm crazy.
He's got the facts to back it up.
Yeah, and it's funny because this tweet that he made backs up what I've been saying forever. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, bro, look, I get it, I'm controversial, whatever, but people have been saying, because he brings on all these people that criticize the red pill, and they criticize me, and I'm like, why can't I defend myself? Brings these pseudo intellectuals on that don't know anything about dealing with women in modern society. 71% of men reported that protecting, and this is between male and female professors in America, 71% of men reported that protecting free speech is more important than promoting an inclusive society. 59% of women said promoting an inclusive society is more important than protecting free speech.
Wow.
So a majority of women said that promoting an inclusive society is more important than protecting free speech. Now, there's more stuff like this, but what this basically proves is what I've always said about women, because he goes into more stats that show that women prioritize being politically correct and social values versus what's empirically correct or what's factual. And when you look at censorship, most of the time, what is censorship? Censorship is leftist ideologies being challenged. So they say, this is hate speech. We're going to go ahead and ban it, right? And we look at a lot of these tech companies, right? And we look at who's in the trust and safety teams. Who is it? Women, bro. Women,
yeah.
Right? So that's what it is. What going back with this whole situation is morality and being accepted and inclusivity is far more important to women than it is to men.
Makes sense. Men are way more logical, right?
Way more. And this is why women can't be in positions of leadership, because that need to like be socially superior a lot of the times will cloud their judgment on what needs to actually be done. Now, are there cutthroat women out there that will understand, hey, we got to do what's right regardless of how we feel about it? Of course. But again, that is the minority.
Yeah.
That is the
I think it's a
minority.
good balance though. Like some days you'll come home after a long day and want some advice from your girl, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would never take advice from my
Really?
girl.
Not business advice. I'm saying just like emotional advice.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk with her or some but I don't think women are ever in a position to really advise men of anything. And
Really?
the reason why is because they don't. So, can't take. Women live life on easy mode. So why the am I going to sit here and talk to someone that lives life on easy mode when I play the game on hard mode? Like, you ever play GoldenEye?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, you play video games, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like women, right? They get something called the Game Shark, right? They can just like get the cheat codes for the game without even playing the game, and they get all the golden guns and all the power ups and all this other right? Versus the guys, we actually got to play the game on hard mode, no power ups, just a little pistol, and we got to fight our way to the main boss. So if you had to play the game on super hard mode and you beat the game, well, guess what? You're going to be a lot more skilled than the person that had the cheat codes, right?
Right.
So I look at it like, why, as a man, when you play the game on hard mode, are you going to go and sit there and talk to someone who plays the game on easy mode and get their advice? They're not even in a position, they don't even understand what the game is like on your level. So they're not really in a position to give you viable advice because women have privileges that they're not even aware of sometimes, right? They're able to get in certain rooms that me and you would have to fight tooth and nail to get into.
Right.
They're able to network with individuals that we would never get a chance to network with unless we were on that individual's level. So for me, well, not even for me, I for most men, I tell them like, yo, most women are not in a position to tell you they're just not. And most importantly, they don't want to be in a position to tell you because if they're in a position to tell you anything, that means that they're equal to you, which you already lost at that point, right? You need to be superior to your girl in every single way. That's the only way that she'll respect you. Women don't want to equal. They'll sit there and like, I just want to equal. No, they don't, because if you go 50-50 on the bills, she's going to start complaining and that you're not man enough to pay the bills. So you might as well just be that guy from the beginning. Your opinion doesn't matter. We're going to do what I say. I'll listen to what you got to say. But at the end of the day, I make the final decision, right? And the woman's got to earn that ability to be even your consigliere, if we're going to use mafia terms, where she can even tell you what she thinks as your advisor. But at the end of the day, you make the final decision. And if you want to tell her to shut up at any time, you tell her shut up. This is how it's going to go. And women want that. They want a guy that can, put their foot down and say, we're going to do this. You just focus on being pretty. They want that. They just don't want to admit it because, they fall so hard through feminism to be equal. But the reality is they never want to be equal in the first place.
Right.
So I think if guys have this mindset where it's like, I'm the leader, the buck stops with me, you're going to be in a way better position. And you're going to be more attractive to your girl. Because what she's going to be able to do is she's going to be able to be more feminine. She's going to be more relaxed. She's like, oh, can calm down. This guy got it. He's just competent. Like, he doesn't need me. And that's what makes her say, I want this guy. Because it's so rare to find a guy that can literally doesn't them.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.